Okay. Hello, everyone. Um, Today I'll be giving a lecture, an eclectic lecture, meaning various ideas about existentialism. I'll be defining it, its history and its contributors, and how it's been used. And if we have time, I'll show you guys a little model that I made so we can all apply it a little more closer into our personal lives. My credentials for, I would say, for this class is that I've been interested in psychology since March 2019, as well as philosophy, 4 out of 5 AP exam class. And since I was 13 from 20, 11 out of 15 people I dealt with very personally, including myself, have dealt with strong suicidal thoughts. So you'll understand that reference in here. So existentialism, a big word. What do we associate socially with this big word? What I have noticed is that we tend to associate this word often with existential crisis, which is a sentiment when we start to question our way of life, as our condition, as rather relative. And when we realize this is rather relative, we feel an over amount of freedom. And this gives us anxiety because now we don't know where to go. But in the most essential part, existentialism is about the individual and their condition. So how do we get to this conclusion? I have this diagram. So with all things, we have human experience, as self-explanatory. However, in our lives, we also can have thoughts about that are existential in nature, which means, why am I here? Why do I value this person? Why do I live in this part of the world? Those kind of things. However, if one soul may desire, they can take these thoughts and afterwards and then intellectualize them and socialize them. Which, if we take this route, we get to existentialism in this more coined term in philosophy, which philosophy is an art of asking questions. And what the philosophy and existentialism does is that it focuses on a being and their lives on 5 or 6 essential components, such as suffering, attitude, freedom, responsibility, angst, and suffering. And these 6 terms, to the existentialists in philosophy, to them it means, they philosophize over the psychology of these terms as if one's way of living, that was the only thing that mattered. However, moving down more, we get to logopsychology, which is a tool which asks, what are the tenets or rules in the mental of a mind that are needed so that when I have my values, I can implement them in my life and have them actualized. Because it borrows on the assumption that the will to a meaning in our life is a human necessity. So now that we know its definition, who has contributed to existentiality and existentialism? Many people. But here I try to reduce it very much to just some people that are ethical, which just means like how we behave with other people and ourselves, and excluded some other ones that are more intellectual, that have to do with like cognitiveness and politics. So existentialism can start off way back in the beginning with this guy. This guy is Hegel, and he was a philosopher of history that said mankind was a system to be determined. Some time later, this guy Kierkegaard said, no, I disagree. Man is self-determining, and this freedom gives one anxiety if it does not know where to go. That is the most cause and effect right there, but everyone else is more of a web of association. So sometime afterwards, we get this guy Nietzsche, and he said that there is nothing in this world except the only wheel we put ourselves on, that we must overcome them. Some time later, a few generations, we get Sartre, and this man coined the term existentialism, and he says that we come from nothing and therefore we must become. A little related to him is Camus, and he said there is no grand narrative in this life, and therefore we have to make our own because of from our own markings, and this can help us live a more authentic life. Outside of philosophy, we get to psychology with Franco, and he says that we are free every moment, and because we are free every moment, we are responsible every moment to be aware of our potential that we can reach. And then we get, as finally with Rogers, that he states that we are, accept that the reality of things is that everything is ever changing, and accept that you can strive forward. Okay, so now that we know same profiles, how has it been used? In a study of Cooper 2014, he was studying how existential therapies were effective in better. And he comes to saying that existential therapy was the most effective in traumas that were existential in nature. Go figure. Now, it is important to know that the activity of having existential sentimentalities is a big one in our minds, but not the only thing that there is. As Rollo May would have said on Psychology in 1965, that existentialism is a philosophy and a society, and psychology, in a time of crisis. But I would say the most interesting finding about existential uses would be from Viktor Frankl during his time in the Nazi concentration camps, where he put his theories to the test, and he came to the realization in Frankl 1946 on page 104 that those who had a future to fulfill were most apt to survive. So in conclusion with existentialism is that man is free in this world, and therefore he is responsible to try to attain a potential over there in this ever absurd life. So, a little bit of a mouthful, but that's about it. Okay, thank you.